Hi everyone, it's Sandy, and today we are going to be talking about fat and how it affects blood pressure. And in particular, we'll be discussing saturated fat. So, fat in your body, the functions. We do need fat in our diet, a certain amount. It helps to function as energy storage. It's actually a more reliable source than glycogen stores from glucose in our body. And we've all probably experienced how efficient that fat can store in our bodies. It helps with the absorption of fat soluble vitamins, so vitamins A, D, E, and K. If we eat those or take those vitamins or vitamin rich foods with fat, they tend to be absorbed better in our body. Fat is also used for insulation and protection. We have subcutaneous fat under our skin. We also have visceral fat surrounding our organs that helps protect them. It is involved in the hormone regulation and signaling in our body, and it contributes to that wonderful smell, taste, and satiety of food. So, if you've ever had a ribeye steak and you've had that marbling from the fat, it helps to make that steak really tender. Or if you enjoy butter on food, it gives it a really nice, flavorful taste that makes us want to eat more. Um, it contributes to satiety because fat has 9 calories per gram versus 4 calories per gram in our protein and our carbohydrate foods. It also provides essential fatty acids that our body cannot make. But these are not types of saturated fatty acids. These essential fatty acids that we need in our diet are actually alpha linolenic acid, ALA, which is an omega 3. So it's a polyunsaturated fat. We can find it in flax seeds and pumpkin seeds and walnuts. Um, EPA and DHA are a product of ALA. So they're made by ALA in our body, but not in sufficient amounts. So we call them conditionally essential omega 3 fatty acids. And the best source of those is fatty fish. So if you can get some fatty fish into your diet, so salmon, tuna, mackerel, black sablefish, uh, sardines, those can all be great sources of EPA and DHA in your diet. Linoleic acid is another type of essential fatty acid. It's an omega 6, and we would find that in our vegetable oils, nuts, and seeds. So, realistically, we don't actually need to take saturated fat into our body because we can make all the saturated fat that we need without ingesting it. But there are a lot of good healthy foods with loaded with other nutrients, vitamins, minerals that our body does need that we can obtain from some saturated fat foods. So, for example, eggs, milk and dairy products, and our lean meats, those can provide some very healthy nutrients for us with some saturated fat as well. So, fat and high blood pressure. So, let's first talk about, having a high saturated fat diet, eating a lot of those foods has been linked with increased blood viscosity or basically a thicker blood running through the bloodstream that can contribute to heart disease and stroke. A high saturated fat diet has also um, increases that LDL or lousy cholesterol, allowing plaques to develop and the vessels to become more rigid. Think like hardening of the arteries. And this can contribute to heart disease and high blood pressure as well. They've recently discovered that if you eat a high fat diet and you have the RS 4343 gene variant, GG, that you are prone to dietary factors that contribute to high blood pressure. So, in particular, a high fat diet for people with this variant increases the angiotensin converting enzyme, or ACE, and these GG variant carriers experience higher blood pressure with that increase in ACE. So there is a recommendation if you have RS4343 and you know about this. They don't recommend that you have more than 27% of your total calories as fat. And the recommendation is also to keep that saturated fat low, 7% or less. So, some food sources of saturated fat. We have our meats, in particular, our high fat meats or deli meats are going to be higher in saturated fat. Eggs carry saturated fat as well, and dairy, our milk and cheese products. And obviously, you can drink a skim milk or lower fat milk, which will have reduced saturated fat in it. Lard. Lard is still commonly used in Mexican restaurants. So if you're ordering beans or a dish with beans, you might want to check with the um, server there to see if they make their beans and serve them with the lard, because that can contribute to a high saturated fat intake. Butter is high in saturated fat. So are the plant-based products, coconut oil and palm kernel oil. And we don't really have a lot of evidence. We know that they contribute to a higher LDL or lousy cholesterol, but we don't know if they are as harmful for the body as our animal-based uh, saturated fats. And dressings that we put on our salads are also commonly full of saturated fat. So some of our healthier fat choices would be our monounsaturated fats. So taking in olives, cooking with olive oil, avocados are monounsaturated, as well as many nuts and seeds. And then our polyunsaturated omega 3s, getting those into the diet. So flaxseed, chia seed, and hemp seed, those are all great sources of omega 3s, as well as walnuts. And again, the fatty fish that gives us the EPA and the DHA, those important uh, essential fatty acids that we don't make enough of from the ALA in our diet. So I just want to finish with a word on trans fats. So trans fat is actually considered the worst type of fat that you can take in. Trans fat has kind of throws you that double whammy. It raises your bad cholesterol or the LDL, and it lowers your good cholesterol or that HDL. Most trans fats that we're going to consume are formed through an industrial process called hydrogenation, where you take a vegetable oil and you cause it to become solid at room temperature. And the reason that manufacturers started doing this is because they could keep their products longer from going rancid. So it's been a process that's been around for a while. So some meat and dairy products carry small amounts of trans fat, and it's not really clear if this contributes or if there's benefit or harm from having those natural trans fats that are in the dairy products. So just some of the foods over there on the right-hand side that contain trans fats. A lot of baked goods such as cakes, cookies, and pies, shortening, microwave popcorn, frozen pizza, refrigerated doughs, biscuits and rolls, fried foods, French fries, donuts, fried chicken, non-dairy coffee creamer, and stick margarine. And the guidance is if there is over half a gram of these trans fat in the product that they do have to label it. But manufacturers have got pretty good about making their serving sizes smaller so they can claim 0 on the serving size. And even though that food in particular might have some trans fats in it. So, what you really need to do as a savvy label reader is look at the ingredients in the food product. So, for example, here I do have the Coffee Mate. I'm picking on Coffee Mate here, but it's a non dairy coffee creamer in a powdered form. And you can see that it contains hydrogenated vegetable oil, and that would be a clue to you that that product contains saturated fat. So that would be a product that I would recommend that you would stay away from. So that's all I have on fats and high blood pressure. I'll talk to you again soon.